Hello, my beautiful blossoms, blooms, and buds. I'm going to just lower that a little bit. I'm Rosebud Reads, and welcome to my book garden. This is part 6 of book 1 of Peerless, and I'm super excited to continue reading. First off, though, how is everyone doing? How was people's weekends? I know I had a great weekend, and I've got some stuff to share from the weekend. But before that, this is a very chill channel. We will be talking to myself. I will be talking to my lovely book garden. I will be talking to the book itself. Hello, Annika. How are you doing today? If that's not really your flavor, that's completely okay. But maybe stick around, see if you enjoy it. You'll never know. Hello, Chichi Kiki. How are you doing? Um, I'm not sponsored. I do not make anything. I don't own anything. The only thing I own is the physical copyright over there and my time, and sometimes not even that. Hello, Mama's Rover, and I'm glad you are doing good, Chichi Kiki. Not bad. I caught a cold from the con, though. Oh, you got the con cold. Oh, boo. I hope you feel better soon, Annika. And I am doing pretty good. Oh my goodness. The one day of convention I went to this weekend completely kicked my butt. um, but it was a lot of fun and I had an extra day to recover. So, I am okay. Oh, second con cold this year. Annika, you got to start wearing a mask to your cons if you're getting con cold that often. My goodness. I'm trying to think of if anything I'm forgetting. This is 16 plus / 18 plus. I have never read Peerless before. This is my first time through, so I'm not sure exactly how mature it gets, but I know it does get mature, and I know this author likes to get detailed. So just a heads up about that. I know, right? I was going to, and it completely slipped my mind. Always does. I'm the same. Like I'm saying, like, man, you gotta wear a mask. I never remember to wear masks. So, if there's anyone new joining, feel free to go ahead and comment. Go ahead and say hello if you would like. I love interacting with my lovely book garden, but no pressure. I'm just happy people are here and that I get to chat with people while I read books. It makes it extra fun. I'm trying to think. Am I forgetting anything? Oh, I am not a native or fluent speaker. So I will do my best, but pronunciation is hard. So I may not be saying everything correctly, but I will try my best and I'm open to suggestions. Um, that being said, our injustice count, before I forget, since I'm looking over here, is currently 12 injustices to service workers, 1 justice to service worker, 2 injustices to animals, 1 injustice to innocents, and 5 individual injustices just to Pei Jingzi. Okay, now that that's out of the way, convention. I had a great time. I decided to go as Liu, which was super fun. It always is. Test out little fishies. And I got some con haul. Want to hear all about Amki. It was a lot of fun. I got to meet a ton of Danmei people. This was the full group of Danmei people. Let me pull it up real quick. My friend was super amazing and was helping take pictures like the whole time. So this is the wide shot of all the people. But like I was super excited. There's so many Danmei people. A wide variety too. Yeah, So I got to meet a lot of Danmei people, and it was great. Had some shenanigans, of course. Went to the dance. Realized that I'm getting older and my body says no much sooner in the evening than it used to. So the next day I was like, but it was a good time. Oh yeah, I guess I should show what I looked like, since I'm showing pictures anyway. So my friend managed to get some pretty cool pictures. Stop shaking, hand. Hang on, let me see if I can get this non-shaky. Okay. This was one of the better pictures. Like very dignified, unlike usual. Thank you. No, I always have fun with that one. And then this is my friend. She dressed up as female Yuji. Yes. No, but it was a really fun time. Okay. The goods. So this is what I picked up from the convention. So, I got a shirt because of course I had to pick up a shirt, but it's super cute. It's a possum. So I will definitely be wearing this to work sometime soon. Did I move it? I did. I did move it. We visited one of my friends. So Lucky Cat Market. And they had some Wangshin stuff. So I got Bunny Wuxian, who looks very cute and mischievous. I love the eyebrows. Hello, Truffle. Welcome. And then Bunny Wangji. I love how deadpan his expression is. It's really the best. So together. Because you can't just buy one. Oh, here. Who produced it? Nope. Just basic bag. Yes, the little details are what makes it. How you doing tonight, Truffle? Maybe it was Sorbet Jungle. Yes, it was Sorbet Jungle. That was who the possum was. So that's if you want Truffle, that's where you can get the possum. There was this super cute stall, just single independent owned little creative artist, made a scarf just with fish, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's perfect for disabled tyrants, beloved pet fish, like just wearing it on the go. Yeah, of course. So like I could totally see myself on the weekend just like going out rocking this. Oh, if I tie it correctly, just like What's up? And I'll know. Nobody else needs to know, but I'll know. So I usually post on Instagram. I have been bad. I haven't actually posted my Liu yet, but I don't know if you were here when I showed the picture. I need to do that. I was bad. I just took a straight up rest day. Here's me smiling as Liu. It's not the dignified pose, but it's me with my children. And technically me with my husband. No, you're good, Truffle. It's a little hard to see. Here's the dignified pose. I thought the fan added a little extra elegance that is needed to pull off the Liu. Not that he's elegant, but he is extra. So the fan makes it a little extra. Then of course we did some goofy pictures like this because so my children are hanging out in the tree. Just because. You have to have some goofy con pictures. I'll eventually post them up. I can pop one or two in the community posts. But yeah, okay. This one is super pretty, and I'm gonna make sure to show their tags. So this is Fox Clover. They have some amazing stuff at ridiculously amazing prices. So I'm going to show you the smaller one first. I might have to take it. I'm just going to take it out of the package. Look at how cute they are. They're chickens. So we had a fantasy one and then a realistic one. I got the realistic one. If you haven't picked up on the fact that I like chickens, I like chickens. I think they're a ridiculous animal. I don't own any, but I like them as a concept. So that's one. And then this is the one that like made me stop and like look around at things. Because I was like, wow. She had 4 varieties of this pin for different colors of both the rabbits and the roses. But look at this, like hand in comparison, my hand is touching the pin. Like it's a huge pin, but look at the detail on that. Like that's gotta be like a middle of the bag, eat a bag pin. Like, because it's gorgeous, but it's also massive. Yes. For the chicken and for the bunnies, the company is Fox Clover, and they have their info on the back. There you go. Yes. No, they were super sweet too. They were really excited that someone stopped and was looking, and the prices are super good. Like this one, this was like $30, and for like pins have become so expensive nowadays. Like, and for something this size, you'd be like more. But $30 is not bad for a pin of this size. Yeah, I know, right? Okay, I'm just moving these. Next, I was really into solo leveling. Still am, but like haven't had time to like sit down and read it. So I was super excited when I found this. It's Saju Studios. They also have a couple more pieces, but they were out at the convention. So I just managed to get my Sweet Sweet Night. It's really cool though. I like the glitter aspects of it. But yeah, it's just Saju Studios. Egris pin. Yeah. Let's see. I have a couple other pins. And then some really cool art cards that this booth was actually like advertising. Like they actually made their own like card game. So it's really cool. These they didn't have a card, but I do love my Garbage Teacher Man. And this is the first time I've actually seen like Put Your Hands Up merch. So of course I had to go for the Yanzawa couple. So the horrors persist, but so do I, which is a fitting statement. Right? Yes. I literally like I'm definitely a supporter. That my sleepy teacher man. That was my pandemic tattoo. Thank you. Oh, this was one of the giveaways from the meetup. It's Sejuli. Okay. Oh, I was about to be like, Hikaru, where are you? As you know, I love Summer Hikaru Died. No, that one's actually Shizui. Yeah, it's the same person. Focus. There we go. Yes. It was the same people, yeah. Shoop. I'm almost done. I was restrained this time. Did I just drop that in my tea? No, I did not. Yes. Okay. Then I've ordered or I've gotten pins like from this these people every single time. I have the Wangshin, I have the Hualien. I don't think they have Scumvillain ones. Otherwise, I'd probably have them too. But I was super excited to see that there were Hikaru pins that like actually look like cutesy and kind of happy. Because like all of them always look like so devastated. Which I mean, it's a sad anime. Like it's a eldritch horror anime, but like you can make them cutesy. They have a really cute style and an interesting way of finishing their pins, so I always like to stop by their booth. This one's actually official merch. There was like a booth selling official merch, so I had to, of course, check and see, and was very excited to see Wangshin. So, shocker, I bought Wangshin. Predictable, but That's okay. Also, if you see back there, my lovely new reading is my therapy. I work with amazing people, and they went to an art fair and they saw it and they were like, I thought of you. And I was like, a little called out, but yeah, you're not wrong. All right. I think that's about it. One more pin and all that. I've actually bought from this person before. It's always cool to see them, but I've bought from their stuff online. So I got some Mo Shang. But yeah, there's also their info. They do a lot of fics and a lot of really cute collabs. Or not collabs, but like shipped things. So of course I had to do the certified fanfic reader because that's also true. So yeah. This is the last one and it's super cool. So this person actually legitimately made their own card game, like trading card game. Like they have a whole thing with collective art cards. They're on series 1 alpha edition. I think they were partially only selling these at the convention, but like there's the set list. They're paper larva. They're so cool. You finished Thrice Married to a Salted Fish. How'd you like it? But this is their card set that I got. I actually got the full 4 set of these. And then I traded for this one because I thought it looked cool. So I'll show them individually. So Cupid and the Reaper. Under the witness of heaven, with my lust held as a weapon, may my sword run through us both. So that's the first one. Cupid and the Reaper. Before she was the Reaper, she was a gleaner, collecting leftovers during the autumn festival and wool gathering to scrape together a living. Lu Huan Chang is snarky as heck. Oh, he so is. And we love him for it. Cupid and the Reaper, number 3. For she was Cupid, she was a stork courtier. Mistaken deliveries are not unheard of. Her duties involved redelivering little ones. Yeah, he's got spice and we like that. We like it when they're a little crazy. Little guy trek far and wide to visit Chef Newt's T-Rex pop-up cafe. There seems to be a special visitor. That's card number 4. And then the kind of just random one that I got was one of Cutlass's favorite board games, Snakes and Ladders and Scissors, allegories, vices, virtues, and karmic unbondage. And it was in Cut Here, part 3. Which I thought, it just is interesting. Yeah. And then this is the back. So there were literally people that were there trading. I really like their art style. It's so pretty. Very Art Deco. But I will definitely keep an eye out for them at the coming conventions, and I hope I get to see them and buy more cards. But yeah, that was my convention haul. I have a little bit more, one more thing to show you. Yeah, he's the effing fuck around and find out. Yeah, he really is. It's, you mess with me, I burn down your house. Literally and metaphorically. Okay. As if I didn't have enough to read, guess who got into a new series this weekend? Hi, it's me. I have problems. So guess who's going to be reading this frantically this coming week and the future? For some reason though, really weird thing. So you'll notice book here. Let's do this in order. Book 1, book 3, book 4, book 5, book 6. Uh-oh, there seems to be something missing. Book 2 is ridiculously hard to get right now. Like, I had to buy through like Abe Books to even have a chance of getting it. Literally, I went to the bookstore and they canceled my order today because their distributor literally can't get a hold of it. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I mean, I know what's going on. I have the reference. I will literally be reading like the book of it, but I was just like, why number 2? Like, that's so random. Number 2 is so random. Like, I could understand if it was number 1, like people wanting to just read it. Yeah, like that, Truffle. My library system has book 2 of There's Something Wrong with the Chief. Book 1 is nowhere to be found. Exactly. That's understandable. People read book 1 just to determine if, like, hey, do I want to continue this? Book 2? It confounds me. I also happen to get in The Wife Comes First, part 2. So it was a very good day for books today. I am also almost done with Missville number 2. I will probably finish it tomorrow. It is fantastic so far. I'm loving it. By the way, if you are watching the Other Worlds books, depend on the bean counter, it is the new episode has dropped. So episode 10 is just dropped and it is good. It is also a cliffhanger, so enjoy that. You'll get 2 cliffhangers today. But okay. I have rambled long enough. I believe it would be a fantastic time to actually start reading. Ugh. Alright. What did I just press and why does it look weird on my screen? Thank you. Okay. Can't find Loot in the Mists of in the Wild. The lady in the chain near me, she said there was 1 copy 5 states over. Jeez. It's crazy. Like, I literally got asked today by someone, why don't you just go to the library to get the books? I'm like, because like they either don't have it or they have a weird number of it, or you just can't get it if you try to get it later. Like, they run varied of numbers of publications. And it's like, sometimes if you don't get it, you don't get it. Like, period. Okay. But no, I will excitedly read more tomorrow. My libraries are good, but there's just some stuff I just can't find. Like, I mean, it's understandable. They're covering everyone's interests, and Donmei is growing, definitely growing, but it's still a rather niche. I was about to say niche field of interest, but it really is. It's a category of a genre. And I mean, it's important to me, and I and the community are very enthusiastic and such, but like it is still a niche genre, which is okay. Just makes some stuff hard to find or explanations needed now and again. All right. It is 30:30. Let's see. We are about to start chapter 29, but right before this, we had Chubuchu finally tell them that he is from oh my goodness, what bureau? I know the Queen's Bureau. Feng Xiao is part of the Jijian Bureau, and Chubuchu is part of which one? Jijian? No. Oh my goodness. Names. I don't. Anyway, we know what I mean. Okay. What kind? So they're proposing a cooperation. It's Xiao Xian, Shu Yue Bureau. There we go. Thank you, Truffle. Shu Yue. And they're talking about the collaboration. So, finally, they talk about the lead they mentioned. Chubuchu gave a rough overview of how Qiao Xian's team had followed the trail of the cold plum blossom fragrance to discover Lady Qin. When he was done, he said Qin Miao Yu is likely a Gogyeron and the jade is on her. How do you know? Had she always been such a skilled martial artist, she could have fled right after murdering him. There was no need for her to lurk in the city. My two subordinates fought her together, yet she managed to escape. We must presume her martial arts have improved greatly in a short period of time. Otherwise, how could she survive an impossible battle with only blind courage? The Jade of Heaven's Lake. Chubuchu nodded. The Jade possesses the legendary ability to enhance one's martial arts within 10 days. She's injured now, so she won't be able to sneak out of the city at night. When you head back in the morning, gather some people and search the city. It shouldn't be difficult to find her. Feng Xiao mulled this over. Then, considering what her strength would have been a few days ago, she couldn't possibly have killed Yu Qi Jinwu and his entire party by herself. Yet she escaped alone with the jade, Chubuchu continued. Whoever her companions are, they may also be searching for her. The jade stone Linlang Pavilion auctioned off was likely placed there by her accomplices. It wasn't done to deceive us, but to lure out Qin Miaoyu. But Qin Miaoyu discovered the secret of using the jade to improve her martial skills, added Feng Xiao. She knows she's holding the real thing. She would never take the bait. The two of them finished each other's thoughts one after the other. In this manner, they pieced together most of the original story. Finding Qin Miao Yu wasn't enough. They had to catch her accomplices, too, if they were to eliminate any future difficulties. What about Go Miao Niang? How does he figure into this? He may have nothing to do with the case. Or perhaps someone was worried about Qin Miaoyu and her accomplices and sent him here as insurance. If you're interested, send people to look into him. Feng Xiao changed the subject. Chu Chu was sent here to meet privately with Appa's envoy. Your position in the Shuoyue Bureau must be quite high. No, you already know my identity. Shouldn't you be honest with me as well? After all, we're so familiar with each other now. Who's familiar with you? Chubuchu couldn't help but mutter to himself. Feng Er's shamelessness knew no bounds, but outwardly he remained composed and pretended to ponder a moment. At this point, I may as well come clean. In truth, my surname isn't Chu, and my given name isn't Buchu. Oh, Feng Xiao said, his tone rising. My surname is Zhang Xun, and my given name is Bodhi, Deputy Chief of the Shuoyue Bureau. Somewhere in the city, Zhang Sun Bodhi sneezed. Achoo! All right, so that is where we left off. And this is totally not going to explode in anyone's faces. All right, chapter 29. As Feng Xiao listened, the corners of his eyes curved almost a smile, yet not. Unfortunately, I happen to have seen both the Shuoyue Bureau's deputy chief, a man and a woman. Don't tell me you're one of them. Woven into the tone was, go on, keep bluffing. Let's see what you come up with. How do you know the Zhang Sun Bodhi you saw was the real Zhang Sun Bodhi? Asked Chubuchu. Oh? Poor Zhang Jun Bodhi can't catch a break. Chubuchu's expression didn't shift a mote as he lied through his teeth. As the saying goes, the crafty hare keeps 3 burrows. This is especially true for the Shuoyue Bureau. We work for the court, and our whereabouts and identities are need to know. It's normal to use a double or two. After all, I rely on my brain to make a living. I'm not like Deputy Chief Fang, a skilled martial artist who can go about as he pleases. Feng Xiao suspected Chubuchu was calling him a muscle-bound simpleton, but his tone was neutral. It was hard to take exception. Oh, I'm sure he could anyway. Then who is the chief of the Shuoyue Bureau? What's their name? You know, I've never seen them before either. They never show their face. They give their orders from behind a screen in a dark house. They sound old from their voice. They must be quite advanced in age. Chubuchu continued his improvisation, his lies so convincing they sounded like truth. Feng Xiao furrowed his brow in thought. He mused to himself. Could it be the Empress's trusted eunuch, Chamberlain Zhang? Does the voice sound masculine or feminine? Apart from sounding old, it has no distinctive features. Oh, we're going to turn the volume off right now so that none of the alert noises pop through. Feng Qiao sighed. Taoist Master Chu is a gifted man of peerless intellect and cunning. How unfortunate that there's yet another person on top pressing him down. A capable man cannot lose his authority for even a day, lest he find himself impeded by all around him. In the end, being one's own master is the best way to live. Even now, they never missed a chance to tear into each other. Is that so? Said Chubuchu. Feng Lang Jun is in the same position, since the Minister of Justice is your superior. Feng Xiao smiled. The Minister of Justice is a figurehead. My Jijian Bureau is unlike the Shuoyue Bureau. Though the Empress and the Emperor are called the two saints, when all's said and done, the world can belong to only one. Being under His Majesty's jurisdiction or his wife's jurisdiction, there's a distinction. In my opinion, giving up your seat as deputy chief is a no-brainer. Why not join the Jijian Bureau instead? I'll grant you the position of fourth deputy chief, as well as the authority to take or spare a life, to punish or reward. Whatever the Shuoyue Bureau can give you, the Jijian Bureau can give. Whatever the Shuoyue Bureau cannot give you, the Jijian Bureau can still provide. Chubuchu asked curiously, I'm already a deputy chief of the Shuoyue Bureau, and if I joined your organization, I'd still be your subordinate. What's the difference between what you're offering and what I have now? Of course it's different, said Feng Xiao. How could an awful old man who gets in your way compare to me, an elegant, exceptional, and heaven-sent genius? Not to mention I'm far more pleasing to the eye. I knew it was going to go in the direction of just like, because it's me, you'd be under. Chubachu didn't know what to say. Look upon me every day, and your mood will improve. If your mind is at peace, your body will heal without the use of medicine. Is this not a great boon? After a moment of silence, Chubachu said, Deputy Chief Fang, you really are the best-looking person I've ever met. Feng Xiao arched a brow and said, Naturally. Did you only now just realize? He's sent from somewhere, but I'm not sure it's heaven. That's funny, Truffle. Feng Xiao laughed. Does there exist a man capable of achieving great things who also has skin as thin as paper? These things called reputation and dignity are merely traps people set for themselves. They constrain you and prevent you from moving forward. Look at Foer. He obviously can't defeat me, but to safeguard his own dignity, he claims it's because I wasn't focused. He cherishes his reputation above all. Whether he pursues the martial path or runs after wealth and power, reaching the summit will be nigh impossible for him. If Ishbar Kagan's subordinates are all the same, I fear it'd be difficult for him to accomplish great works. I mean, I'm glad you did, Truffle. As far as I know, though they call Foer the #1 Gokturk expert, many powerful Gokturk martial artists have appeared in the recent years, said Chubuchu. There are enough of them that we can set aside the late Hulagu for now. Bagha Kagan from the Eastern Khaganate is an extraordinary martial artist in his own right. There's also a man under Appa Kagan called Yi Luo He. He looks as delicate as a woman, but his moves are ferocious and brutal, his skills incredible. They are strong enemies who mustn't be under... Feng Xiao was listening attentively, but before Chubuchu could finish the word underestimated, he began to cough. He covered his mouth, but the harsh sounds of his coughing seeped between his fingers, growing more and more intense. If not for Feng Xiao taking care of the assassins from the 13th floor of Yunhai earlier, they would surely have been discovered now. 1 second. As he coughed, a bone-searing pain flared to life in his chest. It spread rapidly through his body in wave after wave, from his fingertips to his heart and lungs, even bringing a searing ache to his temples. The incense of helplessness was stirring inside him. His body was frail to begin with, and as the poison took hold, he endured an agony several magnitudes greater than the average person would have experienced. Even so, he made no sound other than to cough. No groans or cries of pain escaped his lips. What a badass! It wasn't as if the Jijian Bureau had never used incense of helplessness before. Feng Xiao had witnessed at least one powerful martial artist break down weeping under the influence of the incense, answering any and all questions as his resistance collapsed. Even after the poison had been neutralized, his eroded willpower dragged his body down with it. He hadn't lost his health completely, but he never would be what he was. Yet Chu, who knew no martial arts at all, had somehow managed to accompany Feng Xiao, running around all over Liugong City with the poison working inside him, enduring it in silence until it finally flared up. When it came down to it, Chu was from the Shu Yue Bureau. He wasn't a mortal enemy. Hadn't using incense of helplessness on him been a bit much? For the first time in his life, Feng Xiao, Deputy Bureau Chief Feng, spent the span of several breaths reflecting on his actions. But he quickly cast aside such a useless emotion. Surely he merely felt sympathetic because he too was poisoned and injured. I still have some incense of helplessness with me, he said to Chu. No need. Chu curled up against the cold, drawing all his meager warmth into himself. Incense of helplessness had no antidote. The only way to be free of it was to endure the endless torturous agony, waiting for the poison to fade as the body expelled it. Some martial arts practitioners could temporarily suppress the poison using internal energy. Aside from that, one could alleviate the pain by treating poison with poison, suppressing the effects of the incense with another dose. Yet afterward, the next flare-up would be more agonizing than the last. This author really likes poison. Still, those who were subjected to this poison would often take more incense to bring themselves relief. They chose a temporary short-term comfort and ignored the long-term harm it wrought. The cave is cold and damp, Feng Xiao's tone was disapproving. You're exhausted, so flare-ups will affect you more severely. A wise man accepts his circumstances. The next time it flares, you can recuperate somewhere warm and comfortable. You'll still feel better than you do now. Chu's forehead burned hotter and hotter as his consciousness grew hazy. There seemed to be something between him and the sound of Feng Xiao's voice. It came to him soft and muffled. He said, "If I take a first step, I will take a second step. If I wish to defeat the poison completely, I must not take the first step at all." His eyes were tightly shut, his brow furrowed as he struggled in the grip of unrelenting agony. Somehow, he still managed a self-deprecating laugh. I've suffered pain far greater than this. This is nothing. Feng Xiao raised a brow and was about to ask more when he heard a wail from outside. The wind that had died down suddenly picked up again, blowing snow and rain into the cave. A wave of bone-chilling cold swirled inside, the gust icy, sweeping right past into his open mouth and aggravating the poisoned wound in his shoulder. Feng Xiao bent his head in a coughing fit of his own. Once he began, it seemed it'd never stop. The night was long, and they were crammed together in this small space. Their coughs rose and fell in tandem like echoes. A tiger ripped from its mountain may be bullied even by dogs. All that was missing were the howls of wolves outside. The instant he thought it, Feng Xiao heard the faint howl of wolves on the cliffs amidst the wind and snow. The corners of his lips quirked up. He looked at Chu just a short distance away. Hey. Chu was using all that remained of his consciousness to fight the poison. He had no attention to spare for Feng Xiao. Feng Xiao coughed twice. I'm injured too. Why not come closer? We can huddle for warmth. Opening his eyes a crack, Chu frowned as his sluggish thoughts processed Feng Xiao's words. Get the fuck over here, then, he said. Feng Xiao was stupefied. He eyed the unmoving Chu and to debase himself and scoot over, pulling the other man into his arms. Deep inside, he thought in both anger and sorrow, how did my venerable fucking self fall this far? No matter how he looked at it, it was all one person's fault. Are you sure it's just one person's fault? Are you talking about yourself? Because otherwise, I don't agree. I'm back. It is like super uber windy around me right now, so this might happen, but I think we'll be able to make it because I'm gonna just keep going. And we're already, I think, almost done with the first chapter, and we only have 4 more. So I think we can do it. I don't think it's gonna be like the first episode. Yeah. Yeah, you're around my area. You know what's up. We got some crazy weather going on around us right now. Paging Z, standing at the gates of Lou Manor, sneezed thrice in rapid succession. They're blaming Paging Z! Whether due to the chill of the wind or someone discussing him out of earshot, he had no time to wonder. He too had encountered the unexpected. Oh, I think he was blaming Paging Z. That's no fair. So I guess I'm marking down another one for Paging Z. So he's at 6 and we're at 13. Oh my goodness. Chapter 30. 52:30. Not great here either. The internet cut out entirely earlier today. Oh goodness. All right. Chapter 30. Paging Z had arrived at Lou Manor and found himself in trouble. It was impossible for him to monitor all of Lou Manor alone. Even if he infiltrated to get a look inside, the other party was more familiar with the layout and terrain. Definitely an injustice. Poor dude can't be everywhere. Unless he explained his identity to the owner and had the Jijian Bureau's Eagle Riders surround the entire complex, his quarry could easily slip away without him noticing. But if he did all that, it'd spook his target. They'd flee for sure, and he would lose the lead completely. Thus, Paging Z had a dilemma. He'd always felt he lacked wisdom and maturity, that he couldn't solve problems the way the deputy chief could, while smiling and chatting. And if he'd possessed fantastic martial abilities like the third chief, he wouldn't have been standing here at a loss either. At the very least, he might have captured the person in black as they left Chu Shan Manor. Paging Z had just about made up his mind to sneak inside when a scream from within Lou Manor shattered the night and sent a chill. Lanterns all over the manor flickered to life, and the murmur of its occupants swelled to a clamor as Paging Z could hear through the doors. Infiltration was impossible now. Paging Z frowned. The clatter of hoofbeats sounded from behind. Paging Z looked back. 6 of the Jijian Bureau's Eagle Riders had followed him. Weren't you supposed to stay at Chushan Manor? Said Paging Z. The leader of the unit cupped his fist in a salute. We come by order of the deputy chief to assist Pei Lang Jun. Paging Z understood at once. Feng Xiao had anticipated his hesitation and had sent the cavalry to prod him into making a decision. So decide he did. Split up and surround Lou Manor. No one leaves without direct orders from me. The Eagle Riders saluted and left to take up their posts. Lou Manor was sprawling, but the Eagle Riders were trained by the Jijian Bureau. 6 was enough. Paging Z was about to knock on the door when he felt a gust of wind at his back. His heart thumped, and he instinctively dodged the side as a white light flashed past the corner of his eye and punched through the wooden door in front of him. The brutality of the attack put Paging Z instantly on alert. He drew his sword and spun to meet his opponent. As they came face to face, he saw his attacker was an elegant figure in white robes, radiating the cold and otherworldly aura of a celestial being from the Moon Palace. "Who is this distinguished master?" asked Pei Jingzi. Xiao Xian sneered. "You detain one of ours, and yet you ask such a question? Hand over Chu Bu Chu!" Pei Jingzi was startled. You? He saw another person approach. It was a man dressed in black, an eye-catching figure with a bamboo hat on his head and prayer beads wound around his hand. Deputy Chief Zhang Sun? Xiao Xian answered no questions. Her attacks grew fiercer as she demanded, "Where is he?" Pei Jingzi composed himself and said, "I don't know what you're talking about." The Lu Manor was in chaos. The family was not deaf. The noise they were making at the entrance was considerable. Of course they could hear it inside. Someone rushed to open the door and was greeted by the sight of Pei Jingzi and Xiao Xian clashing on their doorstep. They exclaimed in shock and fury, "Stop right there! Who are you? You dare fight on the doorstep of the Lu family? Quick, get help!" On hearing the clamor, the Jijian Bureau's Eagle Riders rushed over and surrounded Zhang Sun and Xiao Xian. The situation was quickly spinning out of control. Pei Jingzi's mind was a mess. "Everyone, stop!" he shouted, and immediately withdrew half a step to prove his intent. When he saw Xiao Xian and Zhang Sun had also ceased their attack, he let out a breath of relief. The Lu family looked out over at this bizarre scene, unsure how to react. It was Pei Jingzi who broke the stalemate. "What is Deputy Chief Zhang Sun doing in Liugong City?" It was impossible for the Jijian Bureau and the Shuyue Bureau to never have crossed paths. Pei Jingzi had met the Shuyue Bureau's two deputy chiefs at least, though this wasn't exactly the time to reminisce. He couldn't pretend not to recognize Zhang Sun. "Looking for someone," said Zhang Sun Bodhi. Pei Jingzi smiled. "I have an urgent task to attend to at the moment. Once I complete it, I'll organize a banquet to welcome you both, then help you find whoever it is you're looking for. How about it?" "Hand him over," said Xiao Xian coldly. Pei Jingzi guessed whom she meant, but still affected surprise. "Hand whom over?" "Chu Bu Chu!" Coughing lightly, Pei Jingzi squashed down his guilt. My apologies. I've never heard of any such person." Anger darkened Xiao Xian's face. She stepped forward, ready to attack again, but Zhang Sun Bodhi stopped her. "Hand him over, or don't even think about leaving here tonight," he said. Pei Jingzi laughed. "Bold words, Deputy Chief Zhang Sun. You may be powerful, but you can't beat all 7 of us." "Try me," said Zhang Sun Bodhi. His shadow flickered as he swept toward Pei Jingzi, swifter than lightning. By the time the cavalry riders surrounding them realized what had happened, Zhang Sun had reached Pei Jingzi and was grabbing for his shoulder. Pei Jingzi dodged narrowly, but his long sword was still halfway out of its sheath when it was forced back in with a strike from Zhang Sun's palm. This whole chapter is an injustice to Pei Jingzi. No, he technically is doing it to himself, so I'm not saying it's an injustice, because right now he's lying through his teeth to the other bureau. So this is his just desserts. He's not getting another strike for this one, because he did this mess himself. This is his fault. Though thrice he tried to draw his sword, and thrice he was prevented. Pei Jingzi's face flushed crimson. He knew he was nowhere near a match for the deputy chief of the Shuyue Bureau in martial arts. Still, he'd never expected to be humiliated such that he couldn't even unsheath his sword. For martial artists, this was shameful beyond belief. The truth was, Zhang Sun Bodhi was going easy on him. Otherwise, even the Eagle Riders present even with the Eagle Riders present, he could have killed Pei Jingzi as easy as breathing. Where is he? Zhang Sun Bodhi brought his palm down, aiming for the top of Pei Jingzi's skull. Pei Jingzi couldn't avoid it. He reflexively squeezed his eyes shut and cried, "Chu Shen Manor!" From all around came the shocked gasps of the Eagle Riders. Two rushed over, but they were too late. The wind from Zhang Sun's palm strike howled, then disappeared. Pei Jingzi opened his eyes and saw Zhang Sun had abandoned his attack and was now standing in place. Having just raced to the gates of hell and back, Pei Jingzi stared in shock. Zhang Sun Bodhi gathered his sleeves and threw his arms wide, forcing the Eagle Riders of the Jian Bureau to stumble backwards. The Eagle Riders who'd hurried over were elite members of the Jian Bureau. At minimum, they qualified as first-rate martial artists in the Jianghu. Yet Zhang Sun shoved them away effortlessly, leaving no room for a counterattack. That one move alone was enough to show Pei Jingzi that while Zhang Sun Bodhi might be Feng Xiao's inferior in martial arts, the gap was a narrow one. In attempting to fight him, Pei Jingzi had grossly overestimated his own abilities. Jiao Xian fixed Pei Jingzi with a chilly glare. "Didn't you just say that you've never heard of any such person?" Pei Jingzi's smile was strained. "How could I know your intentions? A little wariness is reasonable, is it not? You knew Chu Bu-chu was a member of the Shu Yue Bureau, yet you detained him, tormented him, and harassed him. The Shu Yue Bureau will remember this debt. Once we've retrieved him, we'll take our time collecting." Pei Jingzi's head throbbed. "It's true Taoist Master Chu is with us, but we haven't harassed him. My lord brings him wherever he goes." He felt a stab of guilt, but he couldn't very well say we drugged him with incense of helplessness, and it flares up every 3 to 5 days. He's yet to recover, but our boss dragged him out this morning to identify suspects. Jiao Xian saw his hesitation. She stepped forward and fisted a hand in his collar. "What did you do to him?" Pei Jingzi hadn't expected this celestial beauty to spring over and strangle him to the point that he could barely breathe. "He's fine, honestly. If you don't believe me, I'll take you there and you can see for yourself. But you'll have to wait until I'm finished here." An angry voice interrupted them. "Excuse me, but who are you? How dare you show such discourtesy at the doors of Lu Manor? Hurry up and leave." "Oh, hello, Esper lady. You haven't really missed much. There was just a scene in the cave where Chu Bu-chu basically denied having more incense of helplessness, so it was temporary relief and not dragging it out longer. He was like, I'm fine, I got this. This is barely the worst that I've ever had. And now they're cuddling reluctantly. And then Pei Jingzi got outclassed easily by Zhang Sun Bodhi, and the Jian Bureau and the Shu Yue are now beefing. But yeah. Prior to that, I did a con hall showing and a new book showing. So that's why we're only this far so far. But yeah, welcome. The Liu family patriarch, Liu Ti, stood aggressively at the door, flanked by his courtyard guards. His eyes were bloodshot, his whiskers frazzled. Yet he seemed less like he was irritated at being disturbed by a late-night altercation at his entranceway, and more like he'd suffered some terrible calamity. Recalling the scream he'd heard, Pei Jingzi set aside his conflict with Zhang Sun's group and gave the Eagle Riders their orders. Surround Lu Manor! Don't let anyone leave! He turned to the Lu Patriarch. I am a member of the Jijian Bureau with orders to investigate the murder of the Cotonese envoy. We've received a report that a suspect is hiding in your mansion. Patriarch Lu, please cooperate and let us search inside. Lu Ti reeled back as if he'd suffered a great blow. Pei Jingzi's words seemed to strike some chord within his brain, and he finally snapped completely. This is Lu Manor! It is not a place you can enter at will. My Lu family is diligent and frugal. We've never conducted ourselves against our conscience in business, nor in anything else. So what if you're with the Jijian Bureau? You think you can come here and throw your weight around? I heard you even waltzed up and arrested someone from Linlang Pavilion. But as long as I, Lu Ti, am here, you'll not take a single step inside. He had the look of a wounded lion roaring fiercely in defense of his territory. Pei Jingzi and his men could force their way in, but if they did, Lu Manor would descend into chaos. This would only aid the person he was seeking in their escape. Please, sirs, another voice rose from the crowd. Our master has experienced a tragic accident tonight. The young lady of the household has drowned, and the doctor is still trying to save her. Our master is deeply anxious, so I ask your lordships to show some mercy tonight. Please come back in a few days. The speaker was a man standing beside Lu Ti with a mournful expression on his face. His dress and manner placed him as the manor's steward. Pei Jingzi's heart thudded. They'd followed the trail here, and now the Lu family had experienced misfortune. It was far too great a coincidence. He hadn't gone in, but Lu Manor had still descended into chaos. Yet he couldn't leave things like this either. He struggled for a moment, but was too afraid of Zhang Sun Bodhi to shake Qiao Xian off. Qiao Xian gave him a cold look, then released his collar. Pei Jingzi breathed a sigh of relief and turned to Lu Ti. Patriarch Lu, I'm deeply sorry to hear about your daughter. However, your daughter's accident occurred just after we discovered a key lead in a murder case. The two may not be unrelated. It will benefit us both to discover the truth. No need. We merely wish for peace and quiet, snapped Lu Ti. Pei Jingzi ignored him. He turned and instructed the Eagle Riders to go at once to Magistrate Zhao and have him mobilize enough constables to surround Lu Manor and stop a single soul from leaving. Lu Ti was furious. He roared, Looks like you're determined to cause trouble for me tonight. Patriarch Lu is the one causing trouble for me, Pei Jingzi said. The Jijian Bureau has an important mission and unrelated persons may not interfere. Arrest him! A wave of his hand brought the Eagle Riders trotting up from either side. The residents of Lu Manor watched as their master was detained. The servants of the Lu Manor surged forward to wrest their master back from the Eagle Riders, and the scene devolved into confusion. In desperation, Pei Jingzi shouted, If anyone dares act recklessly, I will execute Lu Ti on the spot. That escalated quickly. This declaration stopped the Lu family in their tracks. They all looked at each other, too afraid to move. Lu Ti had gone blue in the face. He held nothing back as he thundered, Slaughter completely lawless! Don't you know we're related to the Lu family of Fan Yang? I'll bring you before the magistrate for contempt towards our noble family. Oh, hello. Welcome. Qiao Xian scoffed. How many generations have passed since the Lu family of Lugong City split from the Lu family of Fan Yang? Even if you are a legitimate branch of the Fan Yang Lu, contempt for a noble is not a valid charge under the Kai Huang Code. All land belongs only to the emperor. Don't think too highly of yourself, then complain when your death comes that you don't understand why. Pei Jingzi had never imagined Xiao Xian would speak up for him. He glanced at her in surprise. Lu Ti was so incensed his eyes were rolling back in his head. He was unable to utter another word. So, the Kai Huang Code is a series of laws instituted by Emperor Wen of Su that simplified and reformed older laws. These statutes provided a pattern for the legal codes of the Tang and other Chinese dynasties that followed. But this was a night full of twists and turns. Just as Pei Jingzi was preparing to have Lu Manor searched, he heard someone else pelting down the road. Young Pei Ling Jun! What is your lordship doing here? This is terrible news. A man ran up, heaving for breath. Pei Jingzi recognized him as a servant from Chushan Manor. When Magistrate Zhao had ordered Chushan Manor offered to Feng Xiao, he had sent a group of servants to attend his honored guests. These servants were efficient and capable. They never asked what shouldn't be asked and never said what shouldn't be said. Even the fussy Feng Xiao hadn't found fault with him. Now, one of these servants was running pell-mell towards Pei Jingzi. He cried out, Feng Ling Jun received a letter saying you were kidnapped. The kidnapper told him to come to Huyang Forest outside the city. He asked this humble servant to tell the Eagle Riders to find country magistrate Zhao, then surround Lu Manor and assure no some Chiaina. Chiaina? Huh? China? China, yeah. No. No Oompa Loompa man in this chat. He said he'd deal with them on his return, but why is your lordship here? Was Feng Ling Jun deceived? Pei Jingzi's face paled in horror. Did he go alone? The servant was still panting as he shook his head. He took Taoist Master Chu with him. At that, Xiao Qian and Zhang Sun Bodhi blanched as well. When did he leave? Pei Jingzi. Typing error, Peri Jingzi demanded. The same time, this humble servant left the manor around an hour ago. Xiao Xian raged. If he wanted to die, he could have done it on his own. Instead, he dragged our people into it. With no thought for anything else, she rushed off with Zhang Sun Bodhi toward the city outskirts, not forgetting to threaten Pei Jingzi as they left. If anything happens to Chubu Chu, I'll never forgive you. Pei Jingzi was worn out and frazzled. Now he understood how Lu Ti felt. Fortunately, County Magistrate Zhao didn't dawdle. He ran over at once, his haste evident. He hadn't even fixed his hair clasp. But Pei Jingzi wasn't in the mood to praise him. After giving him a quick summary of the night's events, he left him to handle Lu Manor while he took 2 Eagle Riders and sped to Huyang Forest as fast as their horses would carry them. The wind and snow had somewhat abated, but the interior of the cave was still frigid. Feng Xiao had used his internal energy to expel most of the poison from his body, but residual toxins remained. His limbs were numb, and his body shook with chills. Chu Buchu was the opposite. His body was blazingly, worryingly hot. He felt like a soldering iron as he lay in Feng Xiao's arms. It did keep Feng Xiao warm, but he suspected that if Chu Buchu's fever stayed this high, he'd give up the ghost before any rescuers could find them. Confidants were hard to find, opponents difficult to meet, but the latter were far rarer than the former. So of course Feng Xiao didn't want Chu Buchu to die like this. He guessed that even if Chu Buchu did go, judging by his penchant for tormenting others, he wouldn't go in peace. He'd definitely have left behind a huge pile of traps for Feng Xiao to fall into. Feng Xiao felt he absolutely couldn't let Chubuchu die. Hey, say something. He patted Chubuchu's cheek. His touch wasn't gentle, but Chubuchu didn't open his eyes. You can't sleep. If you fall asleep, you'll never wake up again, Feng Xiao said. He pinched Chubuchu's wrist and clasped a wisp of internal energy, channeled a wisp of internal energy into his feverish body. Perhaps this wisp had some effect. After a moment, Chubuchu twitched, though his brow furrowed more deeply. Still, any response was a good one. Choo-choo, what do you think of my looks and charm? Chubuchu's lips moved, but no sound came out. I know. They're unmatched throughout the land. You don't have to keep praising me. I've long grown bored of such flattery. It seems you're no different from the vulgar masses. But today I'll tell you a story from my youth. Chubuchu's eyes remained closed as he sighed softly, almost like a reply. When I was young, I traveled to the southwest and heard a story there. It was about a man from a local noble family and a beautiful woman. The woman's family was impoverished, but the man fell in love with her at first sight. He overcame every obstacle, insisting he'd make her his wife. At first, the young lady refused to believe him. She wished to marry a man of her own station and live a simple life. But the man slowly convinced her, and her heart was moved as she saw the many things he did for her. He persuaded the elders of his family, eliminated everything that stood in their way, and gradually she fell in love with him as well. As Feng Xiao spoke, he warmed to his story. I happened to meet that young lady. She saw my looks and charm, peerless in all the land, and begged me to do something for her. Can you guess what it was? Chubuchu's face was lined with fatigue. His brows were tightly pinched as he finally opened his eyes a crack. Feng Xiao felt him shift in his arms, trying to escape. He smiled. You must be curious. Why don't you guess what she asked of me? If you're right, I'll let you stay by my side a few extra days, granting you the precious opportunity to further admire me. Even a dead man would have twitched at hearing that sentence, let alone Chubuchu, who wasn't quite dead yet. Could you... Chubuchu's breathing was weak. Close as they were, Feng Xiao had to lower his head and lean in so he could hear the rest. Feebly, Chubuchu finished. Shut your fucking mouth. His thoughts were muddled. He wanted only to sleep soundly, dead to the world. But someone kept prattling in his ear like a fly buzzing around his head. He couldn't swat it or drive it off. Chubuchu wanted to rip that fly's head off and toss it far beyond the clouds, and force that irritating creature to reincarnate as a mute fly for 18 lifetimes straight. Meng Xiao raised a brow and said, That's not right. How can you refer to my mouth in such a vulgar way? You should call it a fortunate mouth. Everything I say is as precious as jade or gold. My words are something all yearn for, but few are fortunate to receive. Yet you get to be held in my arms. That is a fortune that only comes once in 3 lives. You should appreciate it. Chubuchu didn't bother replying. He could admit Feng Xiao's face was gorgeous enough to fell any living creature, to bewitch men and women alike. But there was a condition attached. Feng Xiao must not be allowed to speak. It seemed there was no stopping him till he finished the story. Chubuchu sighed and reluctantly opened his eyes. All around him was unrelieved darkness. He felt another bout of drowsiness surge over him and did his best to resist his fatigue and stay awake. She wanted to test her lover. She wanted to see if he could remain indifferent in the face of your stunning looks. Feng Xiao smiled. Just as I'd expect of the man I have my eye on. Then you must have guessed the conclusion as well. Chubuchu's tone was indifferent. With your looks, if you disguised yourself as a woman, no one would be the wiser. Nations would topple before your beauty. Only a scant few wouldn't be swayed. That noble son was a man like any other. How could his heart not falter in the face of such provocation? That woman wished to test the human heart and ended up dropping a stone on her own foot. What about you? Have you been swayed? Feng Xiao lowered his head, his breath fanning over Chubuchu's cheek. At any other time, Chubuchu would have shoved Feng Xiao's face away or moved out of his reach. But he was completely drained. He couldn't even turn his face aside, let alone lift an arm to push him off. Just because someone's heart is swayed doesn't mean they fall in love, he whispered. Feng Er, your face could sway anyone, but not every heart will become your plaything. Someone entreated me to test the faithfulness of their lover, Feng Xiao said innocently. He was unable to withstand the temptation I presented. How is that my fault? The human heart will always crumble when tested. If it doesn't, it just means the temptation wasn't strong enough. Lover or spouse, parent or child, they're all the same. That woman didn't understand this truth, so she couldn't accept the outcome. She deluded herself into thinking she was the exception. Isn't that absurd? What happened to her afterward? Guess. The man had a sudden change of heart and fell for another. The woman was unable to bear it. She either fled or ended her own life. In this world, women have no third option. How clever you are, said Feng Xiao. That young woman threw herself into a well. The man was heartbroken for a time, but 2 years later he married someone else. They lived happily ever after, a loving and harmonious union. So what do you think? Wasn't that a fun story? Chubuchu didn't reply. Feng Xiao was mildly surprised. I didn't expect someone as cold and calculating as Taoist Master Chu to believe in true love. Whether true love exists or not has nothing to do with me, said Chubuchu coldly. I just want to know when you're going to shut up so I can sleep. You probably won't be able to sleep at all tonight because I have another tale to tell you. Chubuchu was at a loss for words. Feng Xiao talked most of the night. By dawn, it didn't matter how loudly he spoke. Chubuchu no longer stirred. He was barely conscious as he weathered the incense of helplessness flare up, but at least his temperature had fallen slightly. Finally, he was no longer radiating that blazing, terrifying heat. However able Feng Xiao might be, by now his throat and tongue were dry and painful. He no longer had any desire to move. The snowstorm had calmed, and the sky overhead was a brilliant white. From within the cave, he could just make out the gilt edges of clouds. It looked to be a cold, sunny day. Feng Xiao sighed and muttered to himself. A whole night has passed, cutting Pei Jingxi's next 3 months' salary by half. He slowly got up, then half-dragged, half-carried Chubuchu outside. He pinched underneath Chubuchu's nose, trying to wake him. I'm going to carry you up. Wake up a bit. At least enough that you won't fall off my back. Chubuchu grunted faintly and followed Feng Xiao's instructions. He wrapped both arms around Feng Xiao and laid against his back, obedient and docile. His usual acumen was nowhere to be seen. Feng Xiao sighed again. He far preferred an alert, awake Chubuchu. Even if every thought in Chubuchu's brain touched off countless malicious designs, that version of him was far more entertaining than the man before him now. And more pressingly, Feng Xiao now had to carry his dead weight while climbing back up the steep slope of the plateau. Feng Xiao muttered to himself again. I'll cut Pei Jingxi's salary down to nothing for the next 3 years. That will save the Jiajian Bureau quite some expense. And yes, I will give Jiajian a check for injustice, which I guess will also go under our service workers. Chapter 31. 126. I really have to clean this air filter. I can feel the dust allergy kicking in again. Chapter 31. All his life, Feng Xiao had seldom found himself pushed to his very limit. This was one of those times. Thank you, whoever's sending little hearts and hundreds. He'd been a prodigy since childhood, achieving twice the results with half the effort in both academics and martial arts. The things ordinary men spent their lives seeking without success were child's play to Feng Xiao. When it came to the Jijian Bureau, his authority had been personally bestowed by the emperor. Wheresoever he went, none dared challenge his brilliance, and whatever difficulties arose, his wits and intelligence were sufficient to handle them with ease. This was the first time he'd been too cocksure, too careless, and had fallen into the trap someone else had laid for him. Though he hadn't lost his life, it had caused him some serious grief. Fortunately for him, he still didn't have it as bad as Chu Bu Chu. No matter how dark one's mood, nothing lifted the spirits quite like seeing someone worse off than oneself. Oh. Bye, Simon. Thank you for popping in. If you would like to pop back in, feel free. Hope you enjoyed what you were able to hear. So it was then, as Feng Xiao watched the completely insensate Chu Bu Chu, he began humming a jaunty tune. "If you still refuse to wake up," he said between bars, "I'll leave you here and go back to the city by myself." He climbed onward. "Actually, now that I've taken a closer look at your face, well, it's not even 1,000th or so lovely as mine. It's rather outstanding compared to the great unwashed." And a little later, Chu Bu Chu, no matter how I urge you, you won't go. That probably isn't your real name." Feng Xiao leaned back against a rocky ledge and squinted at the dawn sun as it rose from the east, staining the clouds and turning the pale sky a brilliant red gold. In the distance, the mountains rose and fell, silently recounting the passage of glorious eons through this land and the smoke of wars past. He nudged Chu Bu Chu with his toe, giving the fallen man a light kick. "Don't you think it's a pity to miss such a beautiful scene?" Naturally, Chu Bu Chu didn't answer. Had he been conscious, he might have picked up a rock and stuffed it into Feng Xiao's mouth to stop his chatter. But right then, he only lay quietly next to Feng Xiao. If not for the dawn light pouring over his face and provoking a frown of discomfort, he would have looked like he was immersed in a sweet dream, unable to wake. Feng Xiao had mentally docked the totality of Pei Jingzi's salary for the next 5 years, yet the latter still hadn't appeared. Feng Xiao sighed softly and began to consider transferring Pei Jingzi to the Jijian Bureau's remote base in Qiaomo. "Your complexion is poor. Let me help you," he said to Chu Bu Chu. An idea seemed to occur to him, and his face lit up with joy. "In the old days, people used to enjoy drawing on their eyebrows. Now we can share the joy of painting on faces. A great reimagining of an old tradition, if I do say so myself." Chu Bu Chu's lashes trembled slightly, as if he was trying to open his eyes, yet couldn't find the strength. But he wasn't a man who gave up easily. Heaven had come for him many times, and each time, every time, It had left him his frail, flickering life, clawing his way back to the light. Though he was left wandering on the banks of the underworld, even the Reaper's soul-restraining chains couldn't drag him through the gates of hell. He'd never lost before, and he wasn't going to start now. He opened his eyes. Above him was a vast world of azure skies and an extraordinarily beautiful face. "You're awake," Feng Xiao said, sounding pleased. "How do you feel?" Chubu tried to move his fingers and found he was still without strength. It was practically all he could do to lie there like a corpse. Perhaps it was the touch of the sun's first rays, but he no longer felt cold. The early morning breeze skimmed over his face, filling him with a profound sense of peace. If only that aggravating man were a little farther away, it would have been perfect. "Are you thirsty?" Feng Xiao asked. Obviously, he was. He'd gone a day and a night without water. At this point, his throat was practically on fire. But he knew that Feng Xiao wouldn't help him for nothing. Sure enough, Feng Xiao smiled. "Call me Daddy 3 times, and I'll use my internal energy to melt some snow for you to drink." Oh, of course he'd take his revenge. He'd only been waiting for the opportune moment. Chubu decided to get it over with. He opened his mouth without hesitation. "Daddy, daddy, daddy." His voice was rough and grating, but he got the words out. Feng Xiao took a handful of snow and got to work. The snow melt seeped through his fingers, dripping into Chubu's open mouth. Chubu wasn't as fastidious as Feng Xiao, who'd rather die of thirst than accept melted snow mixed with sand. After swallowing a few mouthfuls, Chubu's throat felt much better. "My dad's dead," he said. Feng Xiao eyed him. Seeing as Chubu was at death's door, he decided to be magnanimous and let it slide. After all, if Chubu really did die, Feng Xiao would have a hard time finding someone anywhere near as interesting. The people in this book have very interesting priorities, but I'm not surprised that that's where they are for this character. I should be. I'm not. I'm really not. Which I feel like is a problem. "Give me a couple more mouthfuls," Chubu said. As long as someone hadn't had anything to drink, they could endure their thirst. But the moment they drank, their body would demand more. "It's so dirty, and yet you can stand to drink it?" Feng Xiao pursed his lips, but picked up another handful of snow and melted it for him. "I've drunk water dirtier than this before," Chubu said coolly. "After heavy rain, there are puddles on the roadside. Have you seen them? People come and go, stepping in the puddles, and the mud from their shoes mingles with the water. I've drunk even that kind of water." Compared to that, snowmelt was indeed much cleaner. When someone was in truly dire straits, they could eat rotten food and drink stagnant water. Rainwater from a puddle was nothing. But Chubu had never felt those experiences worth bragging about, so his tone remained neutral, as if he were talking about his meals for the day. "Chief Chu," Feng Xiao said suddenly. Chubu blinked. His expression remained unchanged, but that blink was enough to confirm Feng Xiao's guess. "The great and mighty chief of the Shuyue Bureau has been lurking beside me all this time. In order to hinder my investigation, he even sacrificed his body to poison. Your resolve is unmatched. I'm quite blown away." Would the chief of the Shuyue Bureau risk his life for the endeavor, let you drag him out of the city and almost perish as a consequence? Chubu asked. Feng Xiao was all smiles. "Others might not, but you definitely would. Someone like you never bows to adversity nor submits willingly to others. As long as you're in the Shuyu Bureau, no one else can stand above you. Master Chu, you've deceived me for so long. You truly are so capable. There was no way to deny it, so Chubuchu no longer bothered to make excuses. The head of the Jijian Bureau himself traveled to this remote border city. What's so special about me coming with my ailing body and precarious health? Feng Xiao smiled again. If I killed you here, not a single soul would know. I could throw your body down the cliffside and let the wind and sand bury it. Even if your men found this place, they wouldn't find any evidence. From then on, the Shuyu Bureau would no longer pose a threat to the Jijian Bureau. What do you think? Not a bad idea. However, I'm not the only capable person in the world. In time, a new leader of the Shuyu Bureau would emerge. Killing me is pointless. But there aren't many as intelligent as you. Even dragging around your half-dead body, you set stumbling blocks for me at every turn. If you were gone, I'd have a lot less to worry about. He reached for Chubuchu's neck. Chubuchu looked back at him indifferently. His gaze was calmer than the sky, blissfully unconcerned. Qiao Xian and Zheng Sun dashed all the way to Hu Yang Forest without pause, Pei Jingzi and his eagle riders at his heels. But when the group arrived, they found the area deserted. Careful searching revealed traces of a battle. Now everyone was in the same boat. There was no time for further disagreements. They split in 3 directions and began to search. The blizzard was howling, and their shouts were snatched by the wind. Qiao Xian and the others had their martial arts, but they weren't any kind of winged deities. The longer they spent running about in the snowy night, the more anxious they became. Qiao Xian fretted that Feng Xiao had already used Chubuchu as a meat shield, or that he'd met with some other dire misfortune. The vast wilderness, the mighty Gobi Desert, the endless horizon. It seemed like they'd never find their way back. They searched until the black of night paled into the white of day, until the wind and snow subsided. At long last, Qiao Xian found Feng Xiao and Chubuchu huddled behind a snow-covered boulder. Feng Xiao was fine, sitting leaned against the boulder. He was tired, but still alert. He cast Qiao Xian and Zheng Sun a lazy glance when they appeared, completely unsurprised. Finally, another few minutes and your Taoist master Chu might have been an icy corpse. Before looking at Chubuchu, Qiao Xian retained some composure, but the instant she looked, rage exploded over her face. Chubuchu's face, his forehead and cheeks, and even his neck were covered in words. The handwriting was strong and lively, each brushstroke carrying the elegance of a master calligrapher. But that was beside the point. Oh boy. Oh boy. The point was the content. I, Chubuchu, owe Feng Xiao a life debt. When I see him in the future, I must call him Daddy. Let this be my evidence. Should I refuse, may I be struck by lightning and perish of thirst. Should I flee from my fate, may I break my legs first. Before Qiao Xian could erase the words, Pei Jingzi, who'd scurried after her, had already read them aloud. The corners of Zheng Sun Bodhi's eyes and mouth twitched. He bent down to try and wipe the words on Chubuchu's forehead away with his sleeve, but found the task tremendously difficult. From the side, Feng Xiao said coolly, "Don't bother. That kind of mud is everywhere here. Once dissolved in water, it's nigh impossible to get off. I tried it several times before I wrote on him. If the life debt he owes me could be so easily erased, how would this demonstrate its sanctity?" Yeah, Chubuchu or Feng Xiao is definitely playing with fire here. Yeah. Qiao Xian didn't say another word. She drew her sword and lunged at Feng Xiao. Pei Jingzi sprang forward to stop her, and the 2 eagle riders with him also stepped forward to protect their lord. Another fierce battle was about to erupt. bring me back, Chubuchu cut in. Zhang Sun, your hat. Zhang Sun Bodhi removed the bamboo hat that never left his head. He silently put it on Chubuchu, then heaved him onto his back. Feng Xiao didn't stop them. He waved cheerfully. Taoist Master Chu, take care. I'll visit you in a few days. Don't forget the life that you owe me. Chubuchu's smile didn't reach his eyes. Oh, I'll remember it for 8 lifetimes. The tangled knot that had formed between them over the past few days was nowhere near unraveling. Yet he just shot himself in the ass with an arrow, like a barbed arrow. Like, that is going to come back and bite him hard later. I'm calling it now. Xiao Xian could tell Chubuchu had relaxed after seeing her and Zhang Sun. It wasn't something outsiders would notice, but she'd been his subordinate too long not to recognize his likes and dislikes. Someone as wary and guarded as Chubuchu only relaxed for a very special reason, and Xiao Xian and Zhang Sun were fortunate enough to have become one. They had no interest in exchanging pleasantries with the Jiajian Bureau. The moment they recovered Chubuchu, they left. Feng Xiao didn't intervene. He needed some time to recuperate himself. The murderer of the Khotanese envoy had yet to be brought to justice, and the jade had yet to be retrieved. Thanks to Chubuchu's plotting, the Gokturk warrior targeting him had been misled into attacking Feng Xiao. But then Feng Xiao had brought him outside the city, and Chubuchu found himself in a 3-way ambush that almost ended in his total defeat. In the game between Shu Yue Bureau and the Jiajian Bureau, neither had achieved victory. Both sides beat a temporary retreat, making tallies in their own mental ledgers and waiting for the day they could settle the score. On the return trip, Chubuchu fell asleep on Zhang Sun's back. Zhang Sun Bodhi's shoulders were steady as he walked, and Chubuchu felt not a single bump or jolt. The Lord Chief appears to be poisoned. To have been poisoned, whispered Xiao Xian. Said Zhang Sun. He'd already detected the strange aroma, its incense of helplessness. Xiao Xian was taken aback. Anger instantly darkened her face. The Jiajian Bureau did it. How dare they? Zhang Sun was silent. Feng Xiao's reputation as a disagreeable man with questionable morals was well known. Zhang Sun wasn't remotely surprised he'd used such a method on their Lord Chief. Don't make any move. Wait and see what the Lord Chief has to say. He must have a plan for this as well. Chubuchu slept for a full 2 days. When he woke, his entire body felt heavy and limp. There was no part of him that wasn't exhausted. Only his mind was unnaturally clear, perhaps because he was finally well rested. The moment he opened his eyes, he was alert. He called over Qian Xian and Zhang Sun. What have I missed in the past few days? Have Appa's men arrived? When the maid brought in chicken soup, Chubuchu refused to let anyone feed him. He took the bowl himself and sipped slowly. Xiao Xian and Zhang Sun had already made their inquiries and were only waiting for him to wake so they could report. Appa Kagan's envoy arrived in secret yesterday. We have him settled in already. Now you're awake, you can meet him, said Xiao Xian. Chubuchu nodded. And what's happening to the Jiajian Bureau? Feng Xiao had Magistrate Zhao lock down the entire city to search for the Goguryeo woman, Qin Miaoyu, the one who fought with us that night. There was also the accident in the Liu family. The night you and Feng Xiao left the city, Liu Ti's daughter drowned. Her body is still at the county office. Feng Xiao is busy searching for Qin Miaoyu, so he ordered men to surround Liu Manor. No one is allowed out. Liu Ti is furious. He wrote a letter to his distant relatives, the Liu family of Fen Yang, asking them to intercede with the Jijian Bureau. At this point, Qiao Xian paused. There's one more thing. Yesterday, I caught a glimpse of the #1 Gokturk martial artist Foer in the city. He seemed to have noticed me as well because I was unable to tail him. Though the city was currently under lockdown, that wouldn't stop an expert like Foer or Go Niang from sneaking back in if they wished. He must have received word that Apakagan's envoy arrived and realized he'd been misled. Go fetch Appa's envoy here, then stay close to me in case Foer's attempt. Oh my gosh. I'm going to restart that tiny paragraph. He must have received word that Apakagan's envoy arrived and realized he'd been misled. Go fetch Appa's envoy here, then stay close to me in case Foer attempts something. Yes, said Xiao Xian. She'd expected Chubuchu would meet immediately with the envoy of Apakagan, but to her surprise, he seemed more interested in the affairs of the Liu family. What happened to Lady Liu? Tell me. It's a long story, said Xiao Xian. Lu Ti's daughter was his only child, and he'd adored her beyond measure. She'd been the apple of his eye, the pearl in his palm, and he'd yearned to give her all that was wonderful in the world. He couldn't stand the idea of his daughter marrying into another family, so the moment she came of age, he sought a husband to whom he could pass the Liu family's business and inheritance. The young maiden Liu had a cousin, Su Xing, whom Feng Xiao and Chubuchu had encountered at Wu Wei House. His parents had passed early, and he lived and studied at Liu Manor. He was of an age with Lady Liu, and they made a perfect couple. It was only natural that they developed feelings for each other. Privately, Lu Ti felt Su Xing's fate was too full of hardship. He had lost both his parents already, but his daughter loved him. The fact that Su Xing had no family to whom he owed loyalty also meant he was uniquely suited to join the Liu family. Lu Ti had arranged for them to marry 2 years from now. But recently, Lu Ti had reconnected with the branch of the Liu family in Fanyang for business reasons, and the two sides had exchanged letters and visits. Upon meeting young Lady Liu, one of the elders of Fanyang Liu family became enamored with her and offered to play matchmaker between Lady Liu and the young son of the Wang family of Tai Yuan. The son of the Wang family was 2 years older than Lady Liu, a talented young man with great academic achievements. Several of his uncles served as officials in the imperial court. Everyone expected the young man would follow in the footsteps of his elders and become a minister. His future was bright, his prospects boundless. The lad's noble background and excellent character made him hundreds of times more desirable as a son-in-law than Su Xing. Lu Ti had changed his mind, but Lady Liu was unwilling. The ever-gentle and obedient Lady Liu quarreled fiercely with her father and threw a tantrum. She had drowned that very night. It was the same night that the Jijian Bureau's Eagle Riders had pursued a suspicious figure in Liu Manor. The incident with Lady Liu must have occurred at almost the exact same time. So much drama in that last little portion. Okay. Alrighty. Chapter 32. After listening to the whole story from beginning to end, Chubuchu pondered in silence. Xiao Xian could tell from his expression that he was interested. One second. Xiao Xian could tell from his expression that he was interested. Your lordship wishes to involve yourself in this matter of the Liu family? It's a good opportunity to force the Jijian Bureau to share credit with us, he said. Xiao Xian thought that he'd already washed his hands of this case of the Cotonese envoy's murder. For a moment, she was speechless. A lot of speechless people in this session. Feng Xiao is not the easiest to work with, she finally managed. There's no need for us. There's no need for us to take the initiative to work with him. Compared to the Liu family, Qin Miao Yu, who has the jade in her possession, is much more important. He's got his hands full searching the city for her. He has no time for the Liu family. Feng Xiao also knows Pei Jingzi can't resolve this matter on his own. He'll definitely send him to our door. After this explanation, his appetite seemed to return, and he ate voraciously. Not only did he finish the chicken soup, he followed it with a bowl of noodles. The instant he set down his food, the word came. Pei Jingzi had indeed come to call. Qiao Xian heaved a sigh. The Lord Chief really, truly accounts for everything. Feng Xiao is a formidable man, but he's flexible in his thinking. The Shu Yue Bureau hindered him, but cracking the case and recovering the jade are far more important to him. They're far more important than a petty grudge. Chubuchu stopped for a moment, puzzled. Why do those noodles I just ate taste like the ones at the Shu Yue Bureau? Qiao Xian beamed at him. Were they good? Outsiders only saw her cold, frosty demeanor and unapproachable beauty. Few had glimpsed this hidden gentleness. That's kind of cute. Of course they were good. The noodles and soup the Shuyo Bureau makes are the only kind I like. Jiao Xian made them, said Zhang Sun. Chu Buchu revealed a rare expression of surprise. When did you learn how to cook? Before we left, I asked the Madam Chef to teach me. I was worried you wouldn't be able to stomach the food out here, but I never thought. When she remembered all the suffering Chu Buchu had been through in the past few days, she wanted to wring Feng Xiao's neck. I was the one who let myself be caught. I expected I'd have to suffer a little to stay near him, Chu Buchu said evenly. He seldom detailed his reasoning to others, but in the same way Qiao Xian was completely loyal to him, he was always willing to explain patiently to her. Wait, she can't cook either? Oh, that's what they meant! No, it sounds like they can, because it's why do they taste like the ones at the Shuuyue Bureau? So she must have done something right if they're the noodles he likes to eat. Maybe? I might be reading that wrong. They were still talking when the servants showed Pei Jingzi in. He didn't miss the fierce glare Qiao Xian sent in his direction. Pei Jingzi privately thought that this was totally uncalled for. A good day, Chu Langjun. He politely cupped his hands. Feng Xiao had already told him Chu Buchu's identity. When he reflected on what this man had suffered at their hands, he felt a sharp pang of guilt. Good. Where's my gift? Chu Buchu held out a hand expectantly. What? Pei Jingzi was taken aback. No, I for a second I thought so too, but I think she literally learned how to cook from the usual chef because she was worried that since he's got such a sensitive stomach or just as picky that he wouldn't be able to eat, but no. You've come to me for a favor, Chubuchu said lazily, yet you're empty-handed. Are these the manner of the Jijian Bureau? I'm so sorry. When I read that you've come to me for a favor, instantly my brain went, "You've come to me for a favor. You and yet you didn't bring me a present." Like it a very mafioso-y right there. How did you know I'm here for a favor? The words crowded at the tip of Pei Jingzi's tongue, but he swallowed them down. He smiled. My lord knows your health is poor. Considering the suffering you've endured, he was sure you'd need bed rest. I only came to see how you fared today. I've left the gift with your servants. I'm glad someone else thought so too. Thank you, Esper Lady. When Jiao Xian and Zhang Sun had arrived in Liugong City, they had purchased a small house with a courtyard and a handful of deaf and mute servants. Unlike Zixia Monastery and Wu Wei House, this house was more suitable for convalescence. Secluded, quiet, and secret. However, Feng Xiao had guessed Chubachu's position in the Shu Yui Bureau correctly. It was easy for him to guess that this manor, along with the incredibly popular restaurant Wu Wei House, were all bases of the Shu Yue Bureau. I'm tired. Show our guest out. Chubachu had no interest in listening to Pei Jingzi prevaricate. He lay down and turned his back to him. Pei Jingzi started to step forward again, but Zhang Sun Bo He strode over to block his path. He had no choice but to steel himself and tell the truth. This subordinate indeed has a favor to request. Jiao Xian said coolly. Is this request from you or Feng Xiao? Is there a difference? There's a big difference. The message was clear. Pei Jingzi was a nobody. If Feng Xiao didn't send him, they'd kick him out. Pei Jingzi silently cursed his lot. He was like a sheep entering the wolf's den, utterly defenseless. No wonder Feng Xiao had warned him to be direct and not bother hiding anything. He knew Pei Jingzi was no match for these members of the Shu Yui Bureau. The thought brought Pei Jingzi no satisfaction. All he could say was, I'll be honest. It was my lord who asked me to come. Chu didn't turn to look at him. He lay motionless on his side with his back to Pei Jingzi. Pei Jingzi pressed on. My lord requests Chu Lengjun intervene in the matter of the Liu family in order to find Jin Miaoyu's accomplice. And what about the gift? Understanding dawned on Pei Jingzi as he finally realized what Chubachu meant by gift. If you wanted something from someone, you had to give something in return. My lord is willing to split the credit with you. Once it's all settled, he'll submit a memorial to the emperor declaring that he relied heavily on the support of the Shu Yue Bureau in this case, and asking the emperor to reward you for your contributions. Feng Xiao's choice of words hadn't been so polite. In fact, Deputy Chief Feng had crossed his legs and said carelessly, Do I look like someone who'd let myself be cheated? I'll split the credit with him now, but next time will be different. Just go. If his price is too high, I'll make him repay it a few times over. There was no way around it. His boss sounded more like he was picking a fight than asking a favor. Pei Jingzi was forced to polish his words a bit. Chubuchu snorted. He'd never say something like that. I bet he told you. Find out what Chubuchu wants for it. If he's too greedy, I'll make him repay it a few times over. Pei Jingzi's mouth twitched, and he thought to himself, You really know each other too well. I can help you, Chubuchu said, but on one condition. I want Foer's head. That's... You can agree now, or this discussion is over. Feel free to see yourself out. Don't be so hasty, Chu Lengjun. said Pei Jingzi in a rush. Whatever you want, I'll promise on behalf of my lord. The Liu family's case was pressing, and Liu Ti had already written letters asking for support. Keeping all of Liu Manor under house arrest wasn't a long-term solution. The longer this dragged on, the more trouble it would cause. It was best to resolve the matter as soon as possible. Only now did Chubuchu turn back over and sit up to slowly slip into his shoes. You should have agreed earlier. Instead, you made me lie down in bed right after I ate. My stomach hurts. Pei Jingzi's mouth twitched. The fault is all mine, sir. With this settled, he led Chubuchu and the others to Liu Manor. Pei Jingzi furtively observed Qiao Xian along the way. He thought he'd been subtle until she shot him a cold glance. He was forced to look away and trade his secret observation for open inquiry. Chu Langjun, how should this lady be addressed? Chubuchu's lips quirked into something that wasn't quite a smile. Is it you who's interested, or Feng Xiao? Pei Jingzi mumbled. Is there a difference here as well? If you're interested, go ask her yourself. If Feng Xiao wants to know... Pei Jingzi waited for Chubuchu's next words, but he seemed to reconsider what he was about to say. Then I definitely won't tell you. Pei Jingzi pressed his lips together in silence. He finally realized that, from top to bottom, there was no one at the Shu Yui Bureau with whom he was on friendly terms. But who'd asked the deputy chief to be so ruthless that he'd even drugged Chubuchu with incense of helplessness? Pei Jingzi had thought the Shu Yui Bureau and the Jijian Bureau were sister agencies with the same goals, and thus their cooperation would make things twice as efficient and fruitful. But a grudge once formed was not so easily dissolved. Liu Manor was shrouded under the thick fog of grief. Liu Ti's cherished daughter had died. He was heartbroken. On top of this tragedy, his manor was surrounded, and now his sorrow was tempered with rage. Feng Xiao had only had so many eagle riders, so he'd borrowed some men from Magistrate Zhao. Yet Magistrate Zhao was also plagued by troubles he dared not mention. He didn't want to offend Liu Ti, but he also couldn't disobey Feng Xiao's orders. Caught between the two, he held his nose and told Lieutenant Liu Lin to do as the Jijian Bureau instructed, while also asking him to show the Liu family leniency. Regardless of all else, Lady Liu had to have a funeral, and the family lacked the necessary supplies. Liu Lin had been ordered to keep Liu Manor surrounded, but Magistrate Zhao had privately instructed him to turn a blind eye if he saw them sneak out the back. Unfortunately, Pei Jingzi and Chubuchu happened to come upon this very scene as they arrived. Stop! Who gave you permission to leave? Pei Jingzi cried in anger. He moved forward at once to stop them. Leading the group was the Liu family steward. He choked down his grief and anger to cup his hands and plead. The young lady of our house has passed away. We must hold a funeral. Surely we can't leave her without a place to rest. Please, have some mercy. What do you want? Pei Jingzi asked. I'll have Liu Lin send someone to buy it, but no one from the Liu house is allowed to leave. The steward finally snapped. Who do you think you people are? Who do you people think you are? The dead come first. Our lady suffered a terrible misfortune before she could marry. The mistress wants to make things livelier for her, lest she feel lonely on the road. Everything must be of the highest quality. If we let outsiders buy supplies, how would that demonstrate our devotion towards our young lady? Are you so cruel, so unreasonable, that you show no respect even for the dead? The one disrespecting the dead isn't us but you, Chubuchu said coldly. He pointed out a maid who was standing behind the steward with her head lowered. That's a man. Seize him! Pei Jingzi was stunned, but Qiao Xian and Zhang Sunbo He didn't hesitate. The last word had barely left Chubuchu's lips when they swept forward to restrain the tall and slender maid. The maid was forced to raise her head. At first glance, Pei Jingzi merely felt she looked familiar. But then he recognized her. It was none other than Lady Lu's cousin, the one who should have married into the family, Su Xing. Su Xing was fair and delicate, even as a man. He'd followed the steward, hiding himself among a couple of tall servants. At a glance, he'd passed for any other servant of the manor. If Pei Jingzi's group hadn't happened to run into them, and if Chubachu hadn't exposed him, his disguise would have succeeded. Su Xing? Asked Pei Jingzi. The young man showed no alarm at being discovered. His voice was calm as he said, I've been close to my cousin for a long time. Her likes, her dislikes, even my aunt and uncle might not know as well as I. I left the house with the steward so I could buy the thing she loves most. At least then she won't feel so lonely down there. What's wrong with that? His eyes were bloodshot, his cheeks markedly gaunter, and a dusting of stubble shadowed his chin. On his face was the calm left behind by old sorrow. No one who saw him could say he was cold-blooded and ruthless. I'd be more likely to sigh about star-crossed fates and the separation of death. Then why did you disguise yourself as a woman? Pei Jingzi asked. My cousin and I were engaged for some time, but we weren't married. If I bought something for her in the name of the Liu family and rumor of it spread, it would tarnish her reputation. My cousin was pure and unsullied. She came into this world that way, and she should leave that way too. Chubachu regarded him for a moment, then turned to the steward. Perhaps we can bring this matter to a close today. When all are satisfied, I will return you your freedom myself. I, too, share some small destiny with the Liu family. Please allow me to enter and offer a stick of incense to your young lady. The steward recognized Chubachu. When he'd first arrived and Xixia Monastery had begun to flourish, talk of the medical skills of its abbot had spread throughout the city. The Liu family matriarch had also benefited from his kindness. The steward sighed and beckoned them back towards the manor. This way. This manor housed 3 generations of the Liu family. Liu Ti had an old mother who still lived. Last year, he'd had a coffin made and placed in the cellar in preparation for her passing in accordance with local custom. Yet fate had other plans. The coffin never held the old mother. Instead, it was the young Lady Liu who lay inside. Although a coffin was on hand, the memorial tablet, candles, and funeral flags were missing. Thus, the steward had bribed Liu Lin so he might go out and purchase them. When Liu Lin saw Pei Jingzi and the others come in with the steward, he looked horribly embarrassed and braced himself for a scolding. But Pei Jingzi ignored him. He asked the steward to take them to the hall and send someone to invite Liu Ti. The coffin was already closed, and the hall, once used to entertain guests, had been temporarily transformed into a place of mourning. The pots for burning paper money had been prepared, but there was nothing inside. Liu Ti's wife, Madame Li, was dressed in plain clothes and sitting in the hall, staring at the coffin with blank eyes. The maids at her side murmured words of comfort, but she turned a deaf ear to them all. Liu Manor, which had once thronged with guests, was now cold and somber. Chubachu crossed the threshold, took an incense stick from a maid, and bowed to the coffin. He personally went up to offer the incense before crossing the hall to stand before Madame Li. Be at peace. Madame Li was thoroughly heartbroken, her complexion a waxy yellow. She had always taken great pains with her appearance, yet in her grief she paid it no heed. She barely reacted to Chubachu's words, so the old female servant beside her greeted him in her stead. Thank you very much, Taoist Master Chu. I wish to examine the body in the coffin. These words shocked the entire hall. The servant of the Liu family burst into furious chatter, and even Madame Li jolted out of her daze and raised her head to look at him. The Liu family steward was furious. Didn't you come to offer incense? I'm here to offer my condolences as well as to investigate this case. I suspect foul play in the death of your young lady. Taoist Master Chu, I respect the kindness you've shown to our mistress, but you can't just say whatever you please. And to think you've become a lackey of the Jijian Bureau as well. Pei Jingxi's lip curled. He thought to himself, no, sir. Our Jijian Bureau is incapable of recruiting this great Buddha. Chu hadn't fully recuperated even after his long sleep. The walk here had fatigued him. He didn't wait for the host's invitation and found an empty place to sit. He looked up at them. Enough. If I say open it, then open it, or do I have to do it myself? At this, he shot an impatient glance at Pei Jingxi. Who dares open the coffin? You'll do it over my dead body! Lu Ti had rushed over just in time to hear the end of Chu's speech. He strode forward in a rage, longing for nothing more than to roll up his sleeves and beat Chu half to death on the spot. I bet coffin's going to be empty. Qian Xiao saw him barreling towards Chu and stepped forward. She resembled a celestial being in her fluttering white robes, yet a single airy push from her hand sent Lu Ti stumbling back 5 or 6 paces. He grabbed at the wall for balance. Chu wasted no more breath on them. He said 3 words only. Open the coffin. Pei Jingxi had received strict instructions before he left Feng Xiao. As long as Chu agreed to help, he was to follow Chu's orders to the letter, no matter what they were. And at that moment, Chu had given him an order, albeit a rather unconventional one. Still, the Jijian Bureau and the Liu family had been at loggerheads for so long that piling one more offense on top of the rest didn't mean much. He steeled himself and stepped forward, heading toward the coffin. Reaching out a hand, he circulated his internal energy, then pushed the lid hard and bared the entire interior of the coffin to the daylight. The husband and wife of the Liu family wailed at the sight before them. Imagine if that's where we ended it. You're lucky that it isn't, but imagine. That'd be mean. One second. Oh, by the way, I meant to give Pei Jingxi like 1 check mark just because he is putting up with a lot of shit right now. So we are at 15 injustices to service workers, and I'm gonna give 1 injustice to innocence because of all that's going on with the Li family. So Pei Jingxi's up to 8. Injustice to innocence is up to at least 2. And injustice to service workers is at 15. 1 justice, service workers, 2 injustice to animals. All right. I have to change the time on that. Okay. Chapter 33. It was still early spring and the weather had yet to warm. Lady Lu had been lying in the coffin for 2 days, but no unpleasant odor wafted from her body. Nonetheless, the dead were not to be disturbed. Now that her corpse was revealed once more, the servants of the Lu family took 2 involuntary steps back. Only Su Xing didn't retreat. He approached the coffin and stared dazedly at the girl within. As she watched, Madame Li's eyes grew even redder. Lu Ti was racked with guilt. If he hadn't gotten so mixed up, his beloved daughter and potential son-in-law would never have met such an end. His heart was fit to burst with pain and regret, but he couldn't turn all his suffering and remorse on himself. He glared at Pei Jingzi and Chubuchu's backs as Qiao Xian effortlessly held him in place. Chubuchu walked up to the coffin and gazed at the girl within. Her eyes were closed, her expression serene. They'd wiped her face clean and reapplied rouge, then changed her into a fresh set of robes. It was impossible to tell she'd been waterlogged and disheveled when they pulled her from the water. Under the eyes of the hall, Chubuchu reached out and touched Lady Lu's face. He opened her collar, then flipped her body over to touch and examine it. She's pretty. Well, I mean, pretty for a dead girl, but I don't think she's dead. I don't know if she's dead. I'm like 50-50 on that. Lu Ti saw red. If he hadn't been restrained, he would have long since dashed over to punch Chubuchu's sickly face. What he couldn't manage physically, he made up in words. He and the rest of the Lu family shouted and cursed Chubuchu without cease. Chubuchu didn't look up from his work. Silence everyone aside from Lu Ti and Su Xing, he said impatiently. You think I'll thank you for this? Lu Ti raged. My little girl is dead. Do you wish to steal her peace, even in death? I'll never forgive the Jijian Bureau as long as I live. Pei Jingzi coughed twice. This Chuling Jun is from the Shu Yue Bureau, not the Jijian Bureau. With his back to him, Chubuchu said carelessly, I'm unhappy to hear that. If Feng Xiao hadn't sent you to me for help, I wouldn't be here now. Lao Lu, you're right to place the blame on the Jijian Bureau. I don't care if it's the Jijian Bureau or the Shu Yue Bureau. Either way, today's humiliation is engraved upon my heart. There's no point snarling like that. Even if you did summon someone from the Fan Yang Lu family, my Jijian Bureau wouldn't fear you. Qiao Xian and Zheng Sun Bodhi were both speechless. The corner of Pei Jingzi's lips twitched. He was admittedly disturbed by the obscene acts Chubuchu was performing in the name of investigation. He had the niggling feeling the man was merely taking the opportunity to smear the Jijian Bureau's good name. But just as he was about to put a stop to it, his eyes widened. Chubuchu had bent and pried Lady Lu's mouth open and shoved his fingers deep into her throat. You? Chubuchu withdrew his hand and turned nonchalantly back to Pei Jingzi. Do you have a handkerchief? Pei Jingzi produced one from his sleeve and handed it over. He'd seen it for sale earlier on the street and liked the look of it, so he'd brought it with the intention of giving it as a gift. Chubuchu took the handkerchief and wiped his hands. Pei Jingzi felt a wave of nausea as he watched Chubuchu rub the filth from his hand onto the handkerchief. But Chubuchu acted like it was nothing out of the ordinary. He said to Lu Ti, Your daughter didn't drown. She was murdered. Lu Ti's enraged expression froze into a terrifying rictus. Don't speak nonsense, he yelled. Chubuchu extended his hand to show some kind of sticky yellow residue smeared onto the handkerchief. What did Lady Lu eat before her death? Lu Ti didn't know. He looked to his wife, Madame Li, but she didn't know either. In large, wealthy families like theirs, parents didn't stick close to their children. They were usually only together during the morning and evening greetings. Madame Li immediately summoned her daughter's nurse and maid for questioning. The nurse was over 40 years old with a frank and honest face. The maid was 15 or 16 and dressed in pink. Though she wore neither makeup nor accessories, a palm-sized lotus flower was embroidered near the hem of her skirt, which lent her a splash of brightness. Chubuchu prompted them to explain what they had been doing the night of Lady Lu's death. The nurse had been watching a pot as she prepared a portion of spun sugar swallow's nest for the young lady. The swallow's nest had to be simmered for 2 hours, and she planned to serve it to Lady Lu right before bed. The nurse, therefore, hadn't seen her all evening and didn't know what the lady might have eaten. The maid spoke next. That night, Dan Yang ate some green bean pastries. This lowly one brought them to her. These days, it was common for servants to refer to their masters by their place in the family. As Lady Lu was the only daughter, the maid addressed her as Dan Yang, eldest lady. Was there anything unusual about her that night? Asked Chubuchu. The maid glanced at Lu Ti and hesitated before saying, Earlier in the day, the master summoned Dan Yang. When Dan Yang returned, she was deeply unhappy. I asked why, but she refused to tell me. Su Gonzi sent someone to invite Dan Yang to go flower viewing, but she didn't want to go. She insisted on staying alone inside the house. Su Gonzi, a respectful address for young men, originally only for those from affluent houses. The nurse added, He Niang is right. Early that morning, Dan Yang went to pay respects to the master, and she stayed there for about 2 hours longer than usual. I thought it strange at the time and sent someone to hurry them up, but one of the master's servants said Dan Yang had already left. Previously, Lu Ti had been overwhelmed by his rage. Now, listening to the servants recall the events of the day, he got himself under control and did his best to remember as well. That's right. That day I mentioned to Dan Yang the prospect of marrying into the Wang family of Tai Yuan, but she refused. She said she and Su Xing were in love. If only I had known. How could I have made such a terrible mistake? How long did the two of you talk? Asked Chubuchu. Around half an hour, said Lu Ti. Her mother came in to persuade her, and then I asked her to go home and think about it. Who knew she would? How long does it take to walk from where you spoke to the house she lived in? Lady Lu's nurse was the one to answer. We servants move quickly, so we can get there in about 5 minutes. Dan Yang walks slower, so she'd take her around 10. So you chatted for half an hour. Even adding on the 10-minute walk, there's still more than an hour left to account for. Where did she go? Everyone looked at the maid, who daily accompanied Lady Lu and never left her side. The girl stuttered. Dan Yang said she wanted to enjoy some fresh air, so she walked more slowly than usual. Is that the truth? Chubuchu countered. Or did she go somewhere after, and you're too afraid to say? How could my lowly self fly? Exclaimed He Niang. Call every servant in the manor. Ask if anyone saw Lady Lu that day. Then we'll know for certain, Chubuchu said coldly. Paging Z didn't know why Chubuchu had suddenly jumped from examining the corpse to interrogating Lady Lu's maid, but when he saw how flustered she looked and heard how hesitant her speech was, he too became sure she was hiding something. He watched quietly from the side, waiting to see where this led. He Niang panicked. She fell to her knees. Dan Yang went to find Su Gonzi. Furrows appeared on Lu Ti's brow. Without waiting for Chubuchu to ask more, he cut in. Why did she go to Su Xing? And why would you lie about it? Uncle, cousin rushed in while I was painting, said Shu Xing. She was upset and told me you wished her to marry another man. I gave her some advice and calmed her down, then told her to go back home. I thought I could talk to her again when she regained her composure, and then everything would be fine. I didn't expect her to succumb to despair, and... The words faded into a deep sigh. His haggard expression tore at the heart. The rims of Lu Ti's eyes grew red as he held back his tears. I failed you both. Please wait, Chubuchu interrupted. He Niang, Su Xing resides with the Liu family, and he and Lady Liu went out often together. That she would run to Su Xing after hearing bad news is to be expected. So why were you afraid to tell the truth? He Niang hesitated, so Su Xing answered instead. I asked her to keep it a secret. I was the cause of the disagreements between my uncle and my cousin. If Uncle learned she came straight to me, he might have thought I was trying to influence her. I only sought to avoid any accusations. Paging Z was appalled. She stood up to her father for you, yet all you worried about was staying out of it and keeping your nose clean? Su Xing's smile was bitter. You are unaware of the difficulties that come with living under someone else's roof. My cousin and I were in love, but I have neither family, home, nor career. Place with the Wang family of Taiyuan was far more suitable for her. If I were uncle, I too would wish my daughter to marry into a good family. Lu Ti opened his mouth to say something, then stopped. His face was written with guilt. Madame Li sobbed and lowered her head to wipe at her tears. Yet Chu Bu Chu remained unmoved. You say you were painting. What did you paint? Summer sun on lotuses, replied Su Xing. Show me. Su Xing frowned. Taoist Master Chu, what does this have to do with my cousin's death? Pei Jingzi also felt that Chu Bu Chu's questions were starting to stray off course, but Chu Bu Chu insisted. Bring all the paintings from your room here, including Summer Sun on Lotuses. Even Madame Li couldn't help but speak up. Taoist Master Chu, this is related to your daughter's death, said Chu Bu Chu. Lu Ti was confused, his mind in turmoil. He gestured for his steward to follow Chu Bu Chu's instructions, and the paintings were swiftly brought over from Su Xing's room. Su Xing's paintings filled an entire basket, but Chu Bu Chu had Qiao Xian unroll each scroll in turn. Most of the paintings were of various kinds of lotuses, some with new buds yet to bloom, and some with blossoms withering in death. Pei Jingzi didn't know much about painting, but those who hadn't eaten pork have still seen pigs run. Su Xing's paintings were average at best. He had some ability, but not much talent. If he'd had talent, he wouldn't have spent so many years living with his relatives. He could have left to blaze his own trail long ago. Lady Liu lay quietly in the coffin, as if surrounded by dozens of scrolls blooming with lotus flowers. It was a scene to make anyone sigh. He Niang, Chu Bu Chu said suddenly, was your Da Niang good to you? The mate was taken aback. Of course. Da Niang was wonderful to me. Then why did you betray her and help Su Xing conceal her murder? Asked Chu Bu Chu. Everyone was dumbfounded. Taoist Master Chu, what are you saying? Lu Ti blurted. Your Da Niang is dead. Even if your house currently lacks for mourning clothes, there's no reason you should be wearing pink. That dress is embroidered with lotuses, and you are called He Niang, which means lotus. What a coincidence that Su Xing here also likes to paint lotuses. Can it really be by chance? You tell me. Watch what you say, Taoist Master Chu, said Su Xing coldly. He Niang likes lotuses because her name is He Niang. What does that have to do with me? Is that so? Chu Bu Chu sneered, then turned to the steward and Madame Li. Was her name He Niang when she entered the manor? Madame Li shook her head. She paid a great deal of attention to the maids who served her daughter. She used to be called Shi Niang because she was the 10th child in her family. They were poor, and her parents couldn't afford to raise her. We purchased her at the age of 6, and 2 years ago, Da Niang personally changed her name to He Niang. Chu Bu Chu looked at Su Xing. 2 years ago, you would already have been living at this manor. So what if I was? Said Su Xing. Do you know why I put my finger into Lady Lu's mouth just now? She had eaten some green bean pastries that night, and the residue remains in her mouth. If she drowned, water would have poured into her mouth, the nose, and those traces would have been washed away. Yet there was no sediment from the water in her mouth, and the leftover bean paste remained. This proved she was placed in the water after her death when she was no longer breathing. That's why the water couldn't enter. Luti was stunned. He began struggling fiercely, and at Chubuchu's signal, Zhang soon let him go. Luti wobbled and stumbled forward to look down into the coffin. Chubuchu looked at Su Xing and said, "That night, Feng Xiao won the jade at the auction. Many experts visited Chu Shan Manor. The one in black was you, was it not?" "I see Taoist Master Chu wishes to frame me," said Su Xing coldly. "You're trying to pin everything on me." "You were the one who sent that jade to Ling Lang Pavilion," said Chubuchu. "You did it to test everyone's reaction and lure out your accomplice. That's why you acted differently than the others. You didn't come to steal the jade. You were there to hide and observe. Once you confirmed your accomplice wasn't present, you left. Do you know how I recognized you? Because that night, the person in black stood with his right wrist in his left hand, just as you do now. You can disguise and conceal your face, but your body tells the truth." Su Xing remained unmoved. "That's because I spend too much time painting and writing," he said evenly. "I overtax my wrist, so sometimes it's sore. Many scholars experience this issue. If you don't believe me, find another scholar and examine them. Then you'll see." At that moment, Zhang Sun attacked him from behind with a powerful strike. He put 8/10 of his full strength into the blow, enough to kill Su Xing where he stood. Su Xing turned his head slightly aside, but remained still as Zhang Sun's blow came closer and closer. At the last second, Zhang Sun withdrew his palm and stepped back. Su Xing knew he'd made the right call. They'd only wanted to test him. But Chupa wasn't going to let him off so easily. Why pretend? The exact reaction you just tried to avoid has demonstrated you're a martial artist, and a powerful one at that. Su Xing scoffed. If all you want to do is to add to my charges, why should I stand here and listen to your slander? I'm leaving." He flicked his sleeves and turned to go. In a flash, Qiao Xian's sword glare swept towards his back, brimming with the murderous force of 1,000 troops crushing their enemies. This killing intent was naked, unlike Zhang Sun Bodhi's prodding blow. At last, Su Xing could no longer feign ignorance. He stepped aside to evade. That one sidestep removed all doubt. This man was a martial artist. Exposed, he no longer hesitated. He reached for his waist, and a rippling, glinting blade appeared in his hand. He turned and sped towards Qiao Xian, but halfway across, he made a sharp turn and grabbed Lu Ti instead. In an instant, Lu Ti became a hostage, Su Xing's whip sword coiling around his neck. "Stay back, or I kill him." Chupa Chu shook his head. "What's the use in taking him hostage? When the Jiajia Bureau wishes to settle something, we won't stop for anyone." Paging Z was at a loss for words. There's another loss for words there. "Deputy Bureau Chief, this man is throwing your authority around and directing all blame to the Jiajian Bureau, yet still you want his help? Doesn't the Jiajian Bureau have enough enemies already?" And that is where we will end it tonight. We have Thursday, and then we will actually be done with book 1. I feel like it's gone really quickly. At least for me. Here's the card. There's my bookmark. But yeah, we are just moving on through. Yeah, that was fast. But yeah. Speaking of moving forward, I know usually on holidays I do like a fanfic read instead of a normal read, but I don't have anything ready right now. Like, I haven't asked any authors or anything, so I think we're just gonna do a normal read and just be present there. We'll see if I find something in the meantime, but I think just as of right now, it's just gonna be a normal day. Maybe I'll wear green. But yeah. All good. If you are late on Thursday, Truffle, I'll just do the little explanation and we'll go from there. But yeah. Have a good night, everyone. I hope you have a good day tomorrow, and hopefully I will see you on Thursday. Bye-bye. Oh, yes, and anyone who listens later, I hope you also enjoyed both the con, like, stuff show and also the reading. Good night.